All right, good morning, everybody. Sorry to interrupt that nice music. That was sounding good. I was liking it. Welcome to 2022 Google Camp. This is our 7th annual Google Camp. My name is Dennis Large. I'm the Director of Educational Technology here at the Riverside County Office of Ed, and my co-host.
Hi, I'm John Morgan, Director of Technology in Menifee Union School District. So we're the hosts. We want to also welcome our superintendent down in Menifee, Dr. Jennifer Root.
Good morning. I feel like I should be saying good morning, campers. Like this is a morning where we are at a real camp. I want to just start by thanking RCOE and our technology team in Menifee Union School District for putting together this annual camp that benefits so many educators. I know we have 608 participants signed up to join today, and I can already see that over 300 are online. Back when I was a teacher, and I will say it was in the last century, in the 1990s, I had in my classroom one computer, and I got a color printer only because I had volunteered to be in charge of the ELL program at the school. And my children got about 15 minutes a week on that computer at a very rigorous schedule, of 15-minute slots where they could come work on that one Apple computer. And as we've come back from the pandemic, one of the things that resonates with me that I wanted to share is a quote by Ryan Holiday, and he's an author, and he said, "The obstacle in the path becomes a path. Never forget within every obstacle is an opportunity to improve our condition." And I strongly believe that the pandemic and distance learning really created an avenue for technology to be even more innovative into classrooms. We now have in most districts one-to-one technology, if not all districts, one-to-one technology, document cameras, speakers, projection devices, and we learn to use them in distance learning. And so really we're at a point where the road is moving and we get to learn to use them in our classroom. And so I know over the next couple of days, you're going to hear from amazing keynote speakers, amazing breakout presenters who are going to be able to help you to better use that technology with our students to help them thrive in the future. Again, I want to thank our RCOE team, our MUSD team, and I want to thank each of you for being here. Most of you are giving up a day or two of summer to be here, and this really shows your dedication to the children that you teach and that you work with. And so welcome, have a great couple days and enjoy camp. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Root. Really appreciate that. We're going to introduce the rest of the team. As Dr. Root mentioned, you can't do any of this by yourself, right? It always takes a team of folks. And so from RCOE, I want to give a special thanks to our entire EdTech Services team, Heidi Baines, Nancy Delgado, Steve Hickman, Mike Leffen, and Gabriela Parra. And
very excited to also thank a little bit smaller team, but Jenny Thomas over in Menifee Union School District, our EdTech coordinator. So thank you so much.
Yeah, smaller team, but I always like to point out that Jenny was the one who actually first came up with this idea over 7 years ago to do a conference like this. So thanks to Jenny. So one of the things that's happened, this is our 7th year doing Google Camp. All 7 years, our sponsor has been Schools First Federal Credit Union. They've been a great partner. They make it possible for us to have keynote speakers and to do what we do with this conference. And so I want to give a minute to Joey Cuevas, who's a membership development specialist from Schools First. Joey, are you on?
Yes, hi, good morning, I'm here.
All right. Yeah, Joey, take it away. Tell us a little bit about Schools First.
Thank you so much, and apologies, I'm having some video issues this morning, but good to be here with you all. So yes, my name is Joey. I'm with Schools First Federal Credit Union, and we are a credit union that only serves school employees. So excited to be here with you all this morning. And if you're a member with Schools First, I hope you learned something new today. If you're not a member with us, I would hope that you join us soon. So again, we only serve school employees, meaning that every product, service, everything we offer is designed with you all in mind. The only reason we exist is 1, to save you money, and 2, make your life a little bit easier. So we know that our school employees have a lot on their plate throughout the year, and we just want to make sure that the finances are as simple as possible for you to manage. So right off the bat, membership with us is completely free. So there's no monthly service fee, no minimum balance, free checking, free savings. Everything that we offer is a la carte. So I'm not here to ask you to break up with your bank or move everything over. That's not what we're about. But because we only serve school employees, everything that we offer is unique and designed with you in mind. So with your free membership, one of the biggest money savers for our members is our auto loans. So whether it's new car purchase, used car purchase, or refinancing an existing loan, not only do we have some of the best rates in the nation, but there's 2 really neat features built in. Number 1, if you don't qualify for the lowest rate when you apply for the loan, that's okay. We know that everybody has a different credit history, different past, but whatever rate you qualify for, as a thank you for paying on time, every 12 months, we automatically lower your interest rate by 0.5%. Yes, we automatically lower it. So for example, we had a member that had a 9% on his auto loan, which is super, super high. The day that he refinanced with us, we lowered it down to 4%, 12 months later, 0.5% down, so on and so forth. That was the only product that they had with us. And again, that was over $4,000 of just pure interest that the member saved on that loan, only product that they had with us. Second feature, we know that preparing for summer can be a challenge. Maybe you're working 12 months or getting paid 12 months of the year, but maybe you're not. So whatever rate that you qualify for, as a thank you for paying on time, every 12 months, we will automatically lower that interest rate by 0.5% until you get to the best available rate or until that loan is paid off. Now, also speaking of summer, the most popular program that we offer, I truly recommend that every single person take advantage of this account, is our Summer Saver. So it's a liquid savings account that right now pays a 3% annual percentage yield. So you can put as little as $1 up to $2,000 per month into this account. And again, it's liquid. So whether you have savings that you've already set aside that's not earning you very much, or if you have savings that is really important to you, but is paying you that 0.01% interest rate, take advantage of the Summer Saver. Again, you can put up to $2,000 per month into this account. And even if it's the only account you have with us, it's completely free, completely liquid, and you can make your additional or your existing savings work a little bit harder for you. Now, that really is just the tip of the iceberg of all the different programs that we offer. I will throw into the chat a link to our online application, and I also have a promo code for you where you can join and become part of the Schools First family. You don't even have to make a deposit. So I will put that info in the chat. And thank you all so much for your time and attention.
All right. Thank you, Joey. We really appreciate it. We appreciate Schools First. Your continued sponsorship has been really important to us. Right. John?
All right. So if you joined today, you went through the Google Camp Sched. This is just a reminder that all of our sessions are on the Sched, and all the links to the sessions are inside of each of the the breakout rooms. So you're going to look for that gold box, the link to the Zoom meeting. All right. Also, if you do add something on your Sched, we've done everything that we can to try to make the rooms available to everybody. But if a room fills up, it's something that's kind of out of our control. So just remember that because you add it to your Sched, it's not necessarily a reservation. So make sure you do have a backup session just in case that room is incredibly full. Also, at the end of your presentations, one of the things that we do value and we want to make sure that we are able to share with our presenters is the feedback that we get for the presentation sessions. So thank you guys so much for doing that. And it definitely helps us in going from year to year as we build these Google Camp sessions.
Absolutely. Thanks, John. So another dimension to our virtual conference is the Twitter presence. So use the hashtag IE Google Camp as you share out. And speaking of sharing out, you have a chance to win one of the books that a copy of the book that our today's keynote, Julie Smith, wrote, Master the Media. So if you tweet out a nugget, something that you took away from her keynote this morning, use the IE Google Camp hashtag, then we're going to randomly select some folks who did that, and they'll win a free copy of that book. All right, so let's get some interaction happening here real quick. Would you think about one thing that you're hoping to get out of Google Camp over the next 2 days? And so if you go to menti.com and enter that code that's on your screen there, 3825-7405. And I think that John or somebody's going to put a link in the chat as well. If you go there, then enter a word, something that'll tell us what you're hoping to get out of Google Camp today. I'm going to give you just a little bit of time to get that started. Then I'm going to switch over to see the responses. Okay, thanks, John. You put the link in the. Okay, so look at that. I love it. Inspiration, knowledge, ideas, information, strategies. Very cool. Ooh, Edu Protocol is popular. Love it. Confidence, yes. Empowerment. I just love the excitement of getting new ideas from other practitioners. So, you know, everyone is doing sessions today and tomorrow. You know, they're educators. And I think getting that knowledge, the inspiration, the ideas, the confidence, the engagement, the strategies, the resources from them, that's a powerful, powerful thing. All right.
And as you all know, what makes a conference great are amazing speakers. So a lot of the presentations you'll go to, we have amazing speakers. We did want to highlight some featured speakers that we have throughout today and tomorrow. So if you look at the list, there's some people maybe you saw last year at a keynote or that have come back. We do have our 2022 Riverside County Teacher of the Year joining us as well. So look forward to those.
Excellent.
And then tomorrow, our keynote tomorrow is Dr. Nicole Howard. She's the co-author of the book, Closing the Gap, Digital Equity Strategies for the K-12 Classroom. So definitely come back tomorrow. We have 2 amazing keynotes that we're very excited to hear about.
Absolutely. And for some of you who are returning to Google Camp, I know some of you come every year, which is amazing. We love it. We always hear from you how much you like Google Camp. We do have some new things this year, including this is our first time having a specific computer science strand. So if you're interested in learning things about computer science, from the hands-on how-to to viewing it through an equity lens, that's something that's new this year. So check that out in the sched. Also, I felt really strongly, we as a team felt really strongly that if all the teachers who are here, you spent a lot of time online over the last couple of years, right? And we felt like, well, if we're asking you to come during the summer and spend 2 more days in front of your screen, that we felt we had a responsibility to think about your wellness some. And so each morning, this morning and tomorrow morning, we're going to take a little 15-minute break, and we have some sessions that are just again, just 15 minutes and just kind of fun things like sharing your pets or sharing some travel photos or playing a trivia game, some things like that. Or you could choose that your wellness break is take a walk around the block, walk your dog, start a load of laundry, fix a sandwich, whatever that's going to help you be well during these 2 days. That's what we're trying to do with these wellness breaks each morning.
Also, in listening to a lot of the feedback from last year, looking at different ways to collaborate online inside the or through Google Camp. And so we've introduced also, during a lunchtime, I don't know if it's a lunch and learn or a lunch and share, but we wanted to create a space where if you heard something during the morning sessions that's inspired you, or maybe you're thinking slightly different about that, show up to the inspiration session over lunch, share that, do a couple of quick shares. Maybe we can build some ideas together. Also, for a little bit, we have some groups that are pretty large that join Google Camp. And so we have some district specific rooms, places where you can go and collaborate with people inside of your district. So listening to feedback and trying to really incorporate a lot of that collaboration into Google Camp. So you'll notice during the lunchtime sessions, there's not only a group for everybody, but there's also a group for district specific ones led by a lot of your district leaders.
All right. Let's get to it. All right. Thanks, John. Thanks, everybody. I want to turn it over now to Julie Smith. I'm really excited about this talk. I want to give you a little bit of an introduction. So Julie is on the faculty of the School of Communication at Webster University in St. Louis. By the way, where her Cardinals just beat our Dodgers yesterday, but I'm not going to hold that against her. But she's been teaching media-related courses for 20 years. She is the author of Master the Media, How Teaching Media Literacy Can Save Our Plugged-In World, and has traveled to 16 states and 9 countries, preaching media literacy and digital forensics to anyone who will listen. Right? She wrote that. Right? So from church basements, school cafeterias, or ballrooms, and I'll add to the virtual space, Julie advocates critical thinking for the 11 hours a day of electronic media that we consume. Julie is now enjoying an empty nest after raising 3 sons with her very patient husband, and she has a Formula One racing obsession and a Diet Coke addiction. So with that, Julie, I'm going to stop sharing and turn it over to you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. How is this working?
Perfect. We can see your slides.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a treat to be able to speak to K-12 teachers and administrators, because you all are the workhorses. I just want to tip my hat to you all, because in higher ed, we think that we're all that, and we teach like 3 classes a week, and you all teach all day long, 5 days in a row. And I just think that if any of us tried to do your jobs, we couldn't make it through one day. So thank you so much for all of the work that you do. You all don't get, you know what? You all are responsible for everything and you get credit for nothing. And so I just want you to know that those of us in higher ed really appreciate what you do. So like Dr. Large mentioned, I'm in St. Louis, Missouri, so that makes me a Cardinal fan by my genetic code. And I wanted to thank you for giving us Albert Pujols back, even though all of us here in St. Louis think he's actually like 75 years old. But we'll save that conversation for another day. So my talk today is essentially about how our students are living their lives on screen, and it's like the Wild West. No one is really in charge. And this screen defines everything for them. It defines their worth, their value, their identity, all while fundamentally changing their definition of friendship and connection and authority and success, attractiveness, power. And it defines not just the world around them, but it defines how they feel about themselves. And with students spending over 11 hours a day with electronic mass media, we need to talk about it more than we do, because the issue is that these social media platforms are earning all of the money, while you instructors, teachers, and administrators are getting all of the fallout. So the plan today is to change the narrative. Kids need less preaching and more coaching in a no-nonsense way that's not patronizing. We want them to be in control of their digital lives. We want them to be active participants rather than just these passive consumers of all of this. Let's face it, a lot of it is junk. So that's the plan for today. And so my background, like Dr. Large mentioned, is that I teach media literacy. And it's a term that people fly around a lot: media literacy, information literacy, news literacy, etc. It's all kind of the same thing. It just boils down to critical thinking, critical consumption. And we do that by asking questions. Who's the sender of the message? What's their motive or intent? How is the message designed to get me to think or feel a certain way? Who's the target market? Who profits from this? What information is left out? So we're not telling students that the media are bad. The media are an enormous part of life. We're not telling the students where to get their information. We are merely telling them, ask questions constantly. So I got started with this thinking about what media literacy actually is. And I had a teacher once say, well, I teach media literacy because we have Chromebooks. And I said, okay, what you have is ed tech. Media literacy is analyzing the messages that come through that technology. So I want to show you an example of a kid who knows how to do a search, right? But doesn't necessarily know how to analyze the message that comes through. And I think this example is fascinating because somewhere in our minds, it's wired that whatever words are under someone's photo must just be their names. Okay. So my mantra is, we can't outrun the media, we can't outlaw the media, but we can outsmart it. And that's what media literacy is for me. So this started a few years ago when I was speaking in a school cafeteria, and the principal walked me over to this bulletin board and she said, we teach our children to be nice online. And I was like, okay, who doesn't? Kids have been told since day one how to behave online. This is a very low bar. Be nice online. That's very 2010, right? We need to go much deeper. So I think that digital citizenship as a label is a decent start. But I think that it is limiting because the word citizenship implies be nice. And we need to go way beyond that, way beyond that. I kind of say that the be nice online ship has sailed and we need to go deeper. So what I'm going to give you in no particular order are 26 things that I feel we should be helping students with online beyond be nice. And I don't want you to feel like you have to write all of this down, because I actually sent a list to Dr. Large a couple of weeks ago that has it all listed, and he's going to share that with you. So you don't feel like you have to write anything down is what I'm saying. Okay, number one, none of us read terms of service. None of us. Deloitte did a survey a couple of years ago and 11% of Americans said they read terms of service. They're lying. No one reads them. The image here on the screen is a visual representation, is that if you printed up terms of service, this is how long they would actually be. So purple is Instagram, yellow is Snapchat, the darker blue is Facebook, lighter blue is Twitter, red is Reddit. And I don't know what the silver and the green are. But it's important that we know, and not just the students, but that we in general know what we have agreed to. And there's a reason that these terms of service are so long and so not user-friendly. They don't want us to know what we've agreed to. Microsoft's terms of service are 15,000 words long. Macbeth was 17,000 words. So when we say that we have read terms of service, we're basically saying that we've read a novel or one of Shakespeare's plays, and that's not true. So what have we agreed to? Well, essentially, each of the big platforms say that they can delete our accounts at any time, and we have agreed to that. Most of these big platforms say that we no longer own any of the content that we upload, and we have agreed to that. Snapchat's terms of service say that they can use our material for their advertising and marketing purposes, which means that the stuff doesn't disappear. We've told them they can use it for advertising and marketing. We've also agreed to not post anything sexy, and that's the actual word that's in the terms of service, which fascinates me because that is such a broad, vague word, right? If you ask 100 people to define sexy, you're going to get 100 different responses. The idea there is that they can just delete our account anytime. We've also agreed with Snapchat to not take anyone's photo without their knowledge. And even though students will say, you know, if I send something sexy and they take a screenshot, I get a notification. Well, within the terms of service, Snapchat acknowledges that that notification system doesn't always work. And there are lots of free like Snap hacks at the App Store that will save a sender snap without their knowledge. Or you can just take a picture of someone's phone and you have it without anybody knowing that you have it. So it's kind of a scam. With Instagram, we've agreed that we're over 13, which is hilarious. We've agreed to post nothing sexual. They use the word sexual if we're under 18. And we have also agreed to never, ever sue them under any circumstance, which I find kind of funny. Twitter, we've agreed to not use any hurtful or harmful language, which is essentially half of Twitter. With YouTube, we've agreed to not post anything violent or inflammatory. With Google, we've agreed to let them read our emails to personalize our advertising experience. And with TikTok, we've agreed that if we are under 18, we are using it with the cooperation of a parent. So all of this is crazy, right? We just need to help students understand what they have agreed to, what they've agreed to. Number two, and I think this is a biggie. Number two, know the laws. And these aren't terms of service and these aren't school district laws. These are actual state laws. So I'm using this photo as an example. This is from Instagram. The girls were looking for 40 likes, hashtag 40 likes, please. They're definitely not 18, but they have kind of the sexy vibe going on, right? Like they're trying to be sexy, trying to get affirmation from strangers. And the issue here that they didn't realize is that if it can be considered a sexually related photo, okay, that's pornography. Porn is legal. Porn is legally defined as anything sexually related. So if someone could make an argument that these girls are being sexy and they're under 18, essentially what they've done is, by definition, post child porn, even though all they wanted was just affirmation from strangers. So in Missouri, and I imagine that California is very similar, in Missouri, they could be charged with a Class D misdemeanor exploitation of a minor, even though it's a selfie. And they could be charged with trafficking because they posted it. Now, I know this isn't like super porny or whatever, but they need to understand what, I just used the word porny in a talk. There's got to be a first. I know that it's not super porny, but they need to understand that this is state law, not terms of service, not school law, but state law. And even though it's a selfie, it's exploitation of a minor. Number three is follow the money. I have a really hard time getting my college students to care about this issue, but it's so important that the kids understand that if they're using an app or a website for free, they are not the customer. They are the product being sold. Do they know that sponsored lenses on Snapchat cost $450,000 a day? TikTok ads run $120,000 a day. Mark Zuckerberg made 25 billion with a B last year. Do the kids know the role they play in the economic structure here? Because they should. They should. What are we getting out of this? In many cases, we're getting anxiety, depression, body image issues. We're getting pushed around. We're feeling crappy. And yet we're not getting anything out of this. And the companies are the ones making all of the money. So I think it's important to understand that the kids understand the role they play in this machine. It's a machine. Number 4, it's not all terrible. Some of it is fantastic. I have the best meme collection, and it's from social media platforms. Like, I love this one. This one's actually my favorite. This was me during finals week this year. And we have to talk about TikTok. Okay, you're all the Inland Empire, so Interstate 10 plays a part of your life, is that correct?
It does.
Yeah, okay. So there are parts of I-10 that are horrible, right? There are parts of I-10 that are dangerous that you want to avoid, but I-10 is a part of life. And in many cases, it gets you where you need to go, gets you where you want to go. I would encourage us to start thinking about these social media platforms in the same way. And I'm using one of my favorite TikTok accounts as an example. Is there loads of crap on TikTok? Oh yeah. Is there great stuff on there? Yes. This guy, his name is Sunny. He goes by the name of That Dude Can Cook on TikTok. He's a chef. His restaurant went under during the pandemic. Now he does cooking tutorials on TikTok. Cooking TikTok is fantastic. I have a friend that's addicted to air fryer TikTok, or I think it's called air fryer talk. It all depends on how it's used, right? These are tools. A hammer can destroy or it can build. It all depends on how it's used. Saturday's Wall Street Journal is really optimistic. They say that it's not all doom and gloom for our students, that they use these platforms to connect and maintain relationships. It connects them with supportive people and allows them to express creativity. The research that they quoted in this article says that if you connect with people while you're on these platforms, rather than just scrolling, it actually makes you happier. So what I have started to recommend to my students is, if you are on Instagram, go ahead and go to the DMs and see who's online at the same time and actually connect with them in real time, a real person, because then it becomes more active rather than passive. And I think that that's really interesting that this research says that it actually can increase happiness, for what it's worth. Number 5, I think it's really important that the students understand how the apps are designed and why. So Snapchat, for example, they didn't always have the streak, but the streak was a brilliant way to make sure that students checked the app every single day. Instagram, of course, used to just be the photo sharing. Now they have reels, now they have stories. It's all in the name of keeping us on the app as long as possible. TikTok is brilliant with it because you don't even have to move your finger. The next video just plays automatically, right? So there's a couple things that work with building an addictive app or an addictive game. And the experts created Fortnite, the most addicting game ever. But the way that they designed this was based on Candy Crush. What they said was, we want this game to be addicting. What's a game that even got middle-aged people addicted? Candy Crush and Fortnite share 2 features in common. One of them is called the interest curve, meaning that as you play, the levels aren't always the same. The levels change as you move through the game. So you don't get bored because you don't really know what's coming next. Another feature they have in common is called lose by a little. What that means is that you will never lose by an enormous amount, because then you get discouraged and you quit. With lose by a little, you come really, really close to winning so that your brain says, okay, just one more game and I'll get it. Just one more time. So it's a lot of Las Vegas psychology being used here. And I had a school once say, Julie, would you please come and talk to our 8th grade boys and get them off of Fortnite? This was a couple of years ago. And I said, well, first of all, that's impossible. And why not teach them about how it's designed, right? I feel like if we let the kids like kind of see behind the curtain of how they're manipulated, then maybe that would have more of an effect. Anyway, the principal didn't agree with me. Anyway, number 6. I think it's important that we follow the research about all of this. And of course, most of these platforms have been around long enough now. There's some longitudinal research coming out, but this is a search I did on Saturday. So obviously, there are a lot of people concerned about social media use with good reason, You know, I say this kind of tongue in cheek, is that the best thing about social media platforms is that it gives everyone a voice. The worst thing about social media platforms is that it gives everyone a voice, right? These are all questions we're asking, and there's research to suggest that each one of these is true, but there are many variables. These conditions have existed forever, but perhaps social media use amplifies them or accelerates them in some way. So there are studies that connect social media use and depression among young adults. That study has been duplicated with older adults. Loads of information about how social media can cause anxiety, aggression, depression, etc. My hunch is that social media use, especially for our students, works a lot like alcohol does, that it amplifies whatever mood you're in at that time. That's my hunch. One of the things that I don't think people are talking about enough is how our smartphones keep us from getting enough sleep. And it's so difficult to work with kids who are exhausted. And if they have their phones next to their beds, they're not getting enough sleep. My college students tell me they sleep about 5 hours a night. That's not sustainable and to still be functional, right? And this brings up something that I don't think you all give yourself enough credit for. When your students are in your classroom, that is the only time that they are consuming information and media that they did not choose themselves. Think of how hard that is to teach in that environment. It's so hard. It's so hard. Number 7, we have to recognize disinformation. If you're familiar with the website called First Draft News, they do a really good job of identifying the differences between misinformation, which are simple mistakes, disinformation, which are mistakes but deliberate, and malinformation, which is disinformation created with intent to harm. So disinformation is typically what the big issue is. This went viral in March, saying that this was Vladimir Zelensky, who during the invasion of his country managed to find time to sit at a piano and sing John Lennon's Imagine. Like, come on. It's just a guy that looks like Zelensky. You might be familiar with my friend Flood Shark. Flood Shark is a legend in my field. This is Irene, Hurricane Sandy, Hurricane Harvey, Hurricane Irma, Hurricane Florence, Hurricane Ida, Hurricane Michael. So there's a couple things in play here. One thing that we talk about in the media literacy world is something called performative sharing, meaning that a lot of people share things on platforms without checking, just so they can be the first person to know something. Like, look what I knew before you, okay? But if we stop and really look at this photo, how could it be deep enough for a shark and still be okay to drive in, right? Just regular questions. So I love flood shark. Obviously, I collect flood shark. And one of my friends did this, that if you zoom in and enhance the image, this is what flood shark actually looks like. Another big issue is what we call the democratization of media content production. Essentially, that means anybody can create anything that looks legitimate. It can be silly and easily created. There are so many sites where you can create fake tweets, fake DMs, fake Facebook profiles. I mean, obviously, the Pope did not tweet about me, but this took me about 10 seconds to create. The issue with all of this mis and disinformation online is that it causes us to be cynical. One of the conversations we have in class is, what is worse, believing everything or believing nothing? My students believe nothing. So what kind of citizen does that make them? You know, we're dealing with hopelessness. It causes us to lose faith in our institutions and each other. Anybody can create content that looks legit. I would love to say that Daniel Craig really does want to meet me. Sadly, he does not. But this is all happening while trust in the mainstream media is at an all-time low. So this was created in about 10 seconds on a website called breakyourownnews.com. And if I put this on my Facebook profile, I imagine it would probably travel. Right now in the United States, in the last Pointer research from a couple weeks ago, only 29% of Americans trust the mainstream media. So with our trust in mainstream news at a low point and our ability to create things that look legitimate and are congregating on social media platforms with people who think, feel, believe, and vote the way that we do, there's this vacuum where we believe anything. And especially if we like the message, we're not going to check it for authenticity, right? I love this. Make it look like a news article. People are going to believe it. But even verified accounts can be hacked. This is a tweet that was actually on the Associated Press Twitter stream for about 8 minutes in 2013. The stock market lost, I think, maybe 13% while this was up. It was actually a hacking job done by a group of Syrians. So misinformation and disinformation can be silly, but it can also be economically dangerous, politically dangerous. And you want to talk politically dangerous. This is one of my, I think, a brilliant example. Did you know Pennsylvania now has online voting? To vote online, simply post Hillary with the hashtag presidential election. Now, it would take 5 seconds to Google this, right? But I imagine not many did. She did not win Pennsylvania in 2016, but this is, whoever created this is genius. It's genius. It's Bond movie villain level genius. So we have to have that internal BS detector activated all the time. So misinformation can tell us it's okay to vote online, or that the ghost of Kiev shot down a Russian fighter, even though it's actually an image from this flight simulation video game. Okay. And I'm going to leave this up for just a moment. This is actually a list of digital forensics tools that we use at the university. and it's a hot PDF. So this will take you to the PDF where every link is on there, and all you have to do is just click on it, and it will take you to several fact-checking sites and all of the digital forensics tools we use, if this is interesting to you. And also, Dr. Large, I will send you this link so that you can share it along with that sheet that I sent you a couple weeks ago. I want to make sure that you all have these tools and that you can share them with whoever would like them. Number 8, I think it's important that we tell our students to connect with experts, especially the high schoolers. Let me explain what I mean. There's the American Marketing Association, Screenwriters Association, computer science, graphic design. This is a way for students to connect with people in the fields that interest them before they are even out of school. They do not have to tweet. 50% of Twitter account users don't even tweet, they just lurk. And it's totally fine to lurk on Twitter, totally fine. So this is a way for them to find out what's happening in the field before they graduate. Every email address can have up to 6 different Twitter accounts. So once the kids get to high school, junior and senior, they need to have a professional account, meaning no bathroom selfies, no stupid stuff, but a good photo taken by someone else with a nice clean background that says maybe where they want to go to school, what kind of field they want to get into, et cetera, et cetera. So if they are juniors or seniors in high school, it's time for them to have a professional, mature Twitter presence. And this is why. Number 9, opportunity is knocking. And here's what I mean. This is my student, Stephen Works. He never said a word in class. He was in my intro to mass media class a couple of years ago. Never said a word. After fall break, he came to me and said, "Professor, how was your fall break?" I said, "It was fine. How was yours?" "I went to London." I said, "Oh, what were you doing in London?" And he said, "EA Games flew me there to speak at a conference." I was like, sit down. Like, you need to tell me what you've been up to. Well, this is Stephen. He is the runner of the account Spring Sims, and it's all about the game The Sims. Every day he uploads content about either tips or tricks on playing The Sims. He has monetized his YouTube account. He's monetized his Twitch account. He has, well, as you can see, thousands and thousands of subscribers. He's 19. This was the line of people waiting to hear him speak in Hamburg, Germany at a conference. Now, the reason I bring this up is that years ago, we would have been telling Stephen, "Don't get online. Don't get online. Bad things are going to happen to you," right? But these kids are entrepreneurs. We had a student do a campus visit from Jacksonville, Illinois, and she asked what classes we taught in social media, and I told her, and she said, "I have 9,000 YouTube subscribers." And I said, "Wow, what do you do?" And her dad got real proud, and he interrupted. He said, "She does makeup tutorials, and Revlon has already reached out to her to sponsor her, and it's going to cover her first year of college tuition." That's awesome. That's awesome. So there, the opportunities online, whether they want to sell their photos on iPhoto or do some proofreading on Fiverr, there are all of these websites where the kids can be entrepreneurs and really expand their reach and their influence. They can monetize their YouTube account. They can, sell stuff on eBay, create stuff on Etsy. They can do podcasts on SoundCloud. Like, there's all of these options for them to be entrepreneurs. We have to get past the, don't get online mentality that I think a lot of less progressive school districts are still in that mindset. Number 10, we have to know how to verify photos. Obviously, Google reverse image search is my favorite tool of all time. And it gets tricky because it's so easy to take a photo that's legitimate and repackage it or reframe it or repurpose it for something that's happening currently. So we absolutely have to be comfortable with this tool so that we can find out where exactly the photo originated from. I tell my students that they should do this for 3 reasons. They should check anything that seems fishy, like any news story or meme that seems a bit fishy about a current event. They should also check to see if anyone is using their Instagram photos without their permission, because it happens. But the number 1 reason, I think, is that if they are talking to someone online that they have not met personally, and it happens, they need to run that person's profile picture through Google reverse image search to make sure that person is who they actually say they are. Now, video verification is a little tougher. Thankfully, Amnesty International has this site. It's called the YouTube Data Viewer. What you do is you plug in the URL of a YouTube video, and it will tell you exactly where and when that video was originally uploaded. So perhaps we see something that claims to be from Ukraine. It could be from Syria 5 years ago. One of the issues, though, that's tough with video is that in some cases, a video might get viral on Facebook or TikTok. What it's been suggested is to watch the video, pause it, take a screenshot of that, and then run the screenshot through Google reverse image search. So we'll see. Number 12. I would never tell my students not to post something. What I would beg them to do is to pause for just a second and ask, could someone else interpret this message differently than me? And here's an example. In my field, we have Flood Shark. This is Auschwitz Selfie Girl. She is also very famous. For all the wrong reasons. When I was writing my book, I reached out to her because I knew there had to be a story here. And it turns out that her name is Brianna. She is a Jewish girl from Alabama. And she and her dad used to study the Holocaust and World War II history together. It was their thing. And when she got to be a senior in high school, her dad said, "Where do you want to go on your senior trip? I'll take you anywhere you want to go." And she said, "I want to go to Poland. I want to see these places in person." So they planned the trip and booked the trip. And a couple of weeks before they were supposed to leave, her dad was killed in a car accident. And she went without him. And she took this photo in his honor. Now, Twitter is not a place for context. So it was a huge mistake for her to post this. I'm old enough that I think it's a mistake to take a selfie in clearly very sacred spaces. But I understand, knowing her story, I understand why she took the photo. But the posting and the emoji, she received death threats for this. And this was a meaningful moment for her. And now she's a case study in the textbooks that we use. So I would never tell students not to post. Just please, God, don't end up as a case study in one of our books. And adults are just as bad. This woman was a bigwig with the Chicago Public Teachers Union. And she was very adamant that the teachers not go back into the classroom after the pandemic because it was so dangerous and that clearly they just didn't care about the lives of teachers and wanted teachers to die. And then she went to Puerto Rico and took this picture and posted it and lost all of her credibility. So adults do it too. 13. If you are a high school teacher, especially with juniors and seniors, they absolutely need to be on LinkedIn and they need to have a very vibrant LinkedIn presence. If they are athletes, they should have a link to a YouTube channel that's essentially their highlight reel. If they are dancers, they should have a link to a YouTube channel that has all of their recitals and choreography. If they are into photography, besides LinkedIn, they should have an Instagram profile that is related just to photography. Follow all famous photographers and follow who they follow. The idea is that their story is going to be told online one way or the other. We want them to be the author of that story. We want them to control that story, so that when someone Googles their name, that whole first page is nothing but great stuff that they have put up themselves. You know, years ago, if you Googled someone and nothing came up, that was good. No longer. Now, if you Google someone and nothing comes up, that is a red flag. So we want them to be in control of their online story, direct it, and be active about it, because their story is going to be told one way or the other. Many of you perhaps saw the Netflix documentary called The Social Dilemma. The only thing that The Social Dilemma did well, in my opinion, was talk about the algorithms. The Social Dilemma had a wonderful opportunity to teach us about how these platforms work. Instead, it was mainly just to scare parents. And the only advice they gave us at the end of the documentary was delete all your accounts, which is completely unrealistic. But students need to understand that when they get on YouTube, there's a reason that certain videos are recommended. When they get on Instagram, there's a reason that certain ads show up. They need to understand that the algorithms are created specifically to keep us on the websites longer. And the longer we stay on the websites, the more money the platforms make. If you're familiar with the Facebook files that were published by the Wall Street Journal in October, they did a wonderful expose explaining how on Facebook specifically will change the algorithms to make sure that if you like or engage with a post that is politically, what's the opposite of good engaging? Like if it really ramps you up, you are more likely to see posts that are similar to that to keep you on the site longer. The average visit to Facebook is 18 minutes long. I met a woman at a conference last week, and she actually used the term the polarization industrial complex, meaning that there is an entire industry built on keeping us polarized and angry with each other so that we stay on these websites longer. And I think that's fascinating, which brings us to 15. In my field, we call these the Power Five, essentially because if there's something going on in the world and these 5 companies don't want us to know, we will not know. Amazon is on here because of its web hosting service. People who run these platforms are unelected, unaccountable, and have an enormous amount of power. Google has written agreements with 27 different countries that in order to do business in that country, they will censor search results. And that's an ethical question. Like, it's a terrific business decision, but is it ethical for the people who are actually using the platform? Good question, right? These are all questions that discussions we need to be having with the students. And maybe a savvy student might say, well, wow, I wonder what agreements they have with our government, right? And if you're not sure how much power these companies have, look into the story about Hunter Biden's laptop from October and how that story was completely squelched. But the New York Times 2 months ago acknowledged that it was true. Okay. Number 16. We do not talk enough about coping skills. So many schools here in Missouri are still focusing on the anti-bullying thing, which makes me crazy. That's very 2012 talking, right? There will always be jerk kids. Some little workshop on Be Nice Online isn't going to fix any of the 1,000 reasons that kid is a jerk. Now they just have really good tools. Why don't we spin it, pivot, and talk about coping skills for our students? Because dealing with difficult people is something they have to do every day of their life, right? And if the kids had coping skills, you administrators would get some of your lives back, right? Because the automatic response when someone gets their feelings hurt is to run to the principal's office. Come on. It makes me crazy. And here's why this came up. I was speaking typically when I travel and work with a school, I talk to the parent group at night, and then I talk to the students the following day. And I was speaking in New Jersey, I think, and this parent comes up to me afterwards and says, you have to talk about Discord tomorrow. Discord is terrible. It's causing so many problems with my son. And I hadn't heard of Discord yet. So I went back to the hotel and I'm looking up Discord. I'm like, well, why is this causing problems? On Discord, you can control what server you are on. You can control who has access to your server. You can mute accounts. You can block accounts. You can report accounts. We're not encouraging kids to use the agency that they have built into all these platforms. Instead, they're immediately victimized and they run to the teacher or run to the administrator, who then has to drop whatever they're doing and put out this fire. I have school administrators telling me they spend 2-3 hours a day on this bullshit when they can't even do their real job because the kids don't have coping skills. And I blame the parents a lot for that too, but we have to help them understand their agency. This makes me crazy. Okay. We're almost done. Number 17. It's important that we understand Section 230. Platforms are not legally responsible for anything posted on them by a third party. Now, this was a part of the Telecommunications Act of 1996 when the internet was a baby and the government wanted everyone to be on the internet as a free-flowing platform for ideas, the digital town square. What they didn't think about was in future years, how there would be so much crap on these platforms that is dangerous to democracy, dangerous to public health, and yet there's no risk to anyone for posting false information. The platforms are not legally responsible. So they get all the revenue, we get the fallout. And it's important for the kids to understand the legalities of this digital world and who profits and why. I think Section 230 will probably get another look in the next couple of years, but we'll see. We also need to help them spot fake accounts. Research tells us that we're more connected than ever, but lonelier than ever. And that's where the fake accounts come in. The Atlantic says that 52% of the accounts on social media platforms are actually bots. And they're easy to spot. Like this is my new Instagram boyfriend, Austin Jake. He loves to gym. He also calls it the USA Army. Obviously, we don't call it that. A lot of the bot accounts, especially those that originate in the former Soviet Union, have trouble with our verb infinitives, have trouble with our articles like a and the, also have trouble with capitalization. In many cases, they also present themselves as military because they know that we have a deep abiding love for our military and we're more likely to respond to a military account. But my son had the best comment about this account and said, well, if that was his real abs, he would have more than 3 posts. What's interesting to me is that the platforms have no incentive to clean any of this up because it maintains their numbers. It keeps their numbers up and therefore it keeps their profits up. So you want to look for numbers after the username. So here, Austin Miller, again, capitalization issue. See all the numbers at the end of the username? That's red flag number 1. I actually, this was a new Twitter boyfriend of mine. I did a Google reverse image search of his profile picture. It turns out that it's actually General Austin Scott Miller, who's a bigwig with NATO. So in my YouTube channel, I have a playlist of debunking videos where I show people in real time how to debunk false accounts. And so I posted that on my YouTube channel. And a day or 2 later, I had 2 women from the Philippines in a fight in my comments under the video saying that General Austin Miller loved them and not me. So heartbreak. And it happens on Instagram too. Even though I'm old, people slide into my DMs. Really, the big clue here is that the username doesn't match the way he presented himself, and he was given birth in Florida. So one of the issues, I think, we can tell kids till the days, till the cows come home, don't answer fake accounts. Look, these are all fake accounts. But if a kid is lonely, if a kid feels left out and someone is paying attention to them, they're gonna respond. Like, maybe that's another conversation to have. Like, what is it about connecting with strangers that's so appealing? 19, passwords are really important, even though they're not sexy at all, but they're very important. Current research says that they should be 14 characters, and spaces actually count. So I would recommend, instead of calling them passwords, call them pass sentences, because then you have a capital, you have spaces, and you have punctuation. We also want them to know how to self-track. And what that means is that they set up a Google alert for their name. Now, I have a really boring common name, Julie Smith. So I can't have a Google alert just for Julie Smith. I had to add qualifiers to mine, like media literacy or master the media, et cetera. If you have a common name, you'll need to set up qualifiers, but students need to self-track. Also, if you're an administrator, I would recommend having a Google alert set up for everyone who works in your building. Yeah, then you get an email from Google anytime those names show up online. So it's a way for students, again, to take control of their digital lives. We also have to learn about this new term called smishing. And this is kind of embarrassing for me because I'm supposed to be an expert in this, but I fell for it. I'm about to go to sleep at night and I get a text message and it says, hi, Kevin, this is Kathy. We met on Hinge, but never connected because I had to go take care of my grandma. I'm back in town. Do you want to get together? And my reply was, I'm so sorry. I've had this number forever. I hope you find your friend. Well, turns out it was a smishing attack, meaning this picture has been everywhere. So all of my students had this happen also. This is also a really common one. And this is common too, if it says anything about like your Amazon account or shipping, because it encourages you to click on the link. So we want to make sure that the kids know not to click on a link. We also want to make sure that they set boundaries and that they are very public with their boundaries. Gwyneth Paltrow put this on Instagram saying, skiing with Apple, her daughter, and Apple says, we've discussed this, you may not post anything without my consent. And I love that she calls out her mom, basically saying, I have told you, you can't post anything without my consent. Do the students have these boundaries, and do their friends and family know what those boundaries are? Do they know how to do the cleanse? The cleanse is important. This was also in the Wall Street Journal, where there are tools within each platform where they can delete everything. Do they use it for good? They have enormous power with these tools. Do they use it to spread messages of support, of joy, or something to advance causes that they care a lot about? And this is a big one. There are days when it serves us positively, days when it serves us negatively. Do they understand that? And do they know how to cope? What are their coping skills? But this is the big one. Not only should they know how we use the media, but more importantly, how the media uses us. So I suggest, instead of calling it digital citizenship, we call it digital wellness, because it goes deeper and it analyzes more about our relationship that we have with these digital platforms. And this is the part where I promote myself, because I have 2 kids in college, and no shame. So if anyone is interested, I do all sorts of workshops. I love to talk to students and parents and teachers. And I really am so grateful that you all invited me to your Google Camp this morning. I hope that you are leaving with 1 or 2 things that you didn't know beforehand.
Oh my gosh, Julie, that was so great. I really love that. I learned a lot. Watching the chat, I don't know if you'll have a chance to get back in there and look at that, but really, really positive feedback. I think I was noting some of the things that came up in the chat, that people appreciated your realistic and proactive approach. Yeah. The idea of be the author of your own story, less practicing, more coaching, all that just amazing. And in a year of firsts for Google Camp, this is the first time we've had a a keynoter, talk about porn and LA traffic and addiction. So, you know,
and how old Albert Pujols actually is.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So thank you very much. That was amazing. We will follow up with an email that includes the resources that Julie was talking about. We need to get to our next sessions. Those are about to start. But I do want to remind people that you've got a chance to, not only have you seen and heard Julie now, but you got a chance to win one of her books. If you don't win it, go buy one. Yeah, yeah, that would be great as well. So Julie, thank you. We're wrapping up, and we want people to get to their next sessions. Those start at 9:45. Don't forget to take that wellness break. Either join us on one of our sessions or do your own thing during that. Also, don't forget at lunchtime that there are places for you to have discussions and connect. All right. Thanks, everybody.